The new Merida eOne-Sixty is finally out, and so is the new Merida eOne-Forty. And there is just so much to say about these bikes. So I guess I will forget something, so check out the link in the description to the EMTB forums article for all the details. But okay, here goes. The Merida eOne-Sixty comes in two versions of what Merida calls the E-triology, and that's completed by the eOne-Forty. The eOne-Sixty CF is the carbon frame version, and that's the bike that has seen the most changes, and it's definitely the most interesting bike. And you might have heard this before, but Shimano EP8 motor, the EP801, 600 watt-hours internal battery, flex stay rear triangle. Yeah, that sounds a lot like the Cannondale that was just introduced. But that doesn't take anything away from this bike. Merida has been using flex stay rear triangles on their regular 160 non-assist bike, so it was no surprise it was heading this way for the EMTBs as well. Flex stay means the backmost pivot point, the bearings close to the rear axle, they have been removed. So the rear triangle, it's basically a fixed V, and as the suspension moves through the travel, this V shape will compress a bit or extend or whatever. Merida is using flex stays on the eOne-Sixty Lite too. And even though it's called Light, it's the heavier version. Light means alloy frame. So I guess the flex in the rear stays is very minimal, so the material won't affect the progression of the rear suspension. Merida claims improved pedaling capabilities and reduced anti-rise, meaning the rear suspension will be hampered less when braking. So it should be nice and active as you go deeper into the rear suspension. The rear suspension now offers 174 millimeters of travel. That's actually up by 20 millimeters from the previous version. And there is a flip chip thingy close to the rear shock that will allow you to alter the height of the rear suspension and let you run 29er wheels. So the bike is a mullet setup by default that can be converted. If you convert it to a 29er, you lose a bit of rear suspension down to 160 millimeters. And of course, the fork length has been altered to 170 millimeters. And while we're talking about the frame, the head tube angle is down to 64.4 degrees. And if you've read what I've written previously, you'll know that I think that's a great figure, a nice balance between downhill stability, while steering will remain quite nimble and light. Also, I like the chainstay length a lot, 446 millimeters. That's 6.5 millimeters up from the previous model. So to me, this is a sign that Merida and EMTBs, EMTBs in general, are moving away from the shorter chainstays. I think 445 to 450 seems to be the new normal. And you go above or below if you want specific characteristics. The C-tube angle, nice and steep at 78.5 degrees. Wheelbase 1266 for size large. And when I say size large, I of course mean size long, because Merida has changed the name of the frame sizes. Now they're extra short, short, medium, long, extra long. And the idea is that you don't choose the bike size depending on the length of your legs. You choose the length of the bike you prefer. There's little difference in stack height. The frame height is fairly similar across all sizes. It's like 20 millimeters between extra short and extra long. And to make the bike fit you, you use the new Merida dropper post that can be adjusted between 30 millimeters and 230 millimeters. That's quite a lot, and it's supposed to be very easy to adjust the travel of the seat post to get the correct saddle height, basically. Even though Merida is running the Shimano motor, they've gone away with the Shimano batteries. Now it's a new 600 watt-hours battery on the CF version, on the lighter eOne-Sixty. And that might not sound that impressive to you, but it's basically the same size as the battery on the previous eOne-Sixty. That one was 630 watt-hours, and the new one is too, but due to some changes in legislation, they have to round it down instead of up. So yeah, 600 watt-hours, same battery size as before. And this time it's fixed internally. And that's of course done to reduce weight, because if you go with the Merida carbon version, you want a bike that is as light as possible, because Merida assume bike handling is of high priority to you. If you prefer range over bike handling, and you have to choose one or the other really, then you go with the eOne-Sixty Lite. That bike comes with a 750 watt-hours detachable battery. So it's a much bigger battery, a much heavier battery, and of course the entire bike weighs a whole lot more. You might think the new carbon eOne-Sixty is a super light bike, and it's not. I think I look at it this way. The new Merida eOne-Sixty carbon is basically a lighter version of the previous bike. It's a 22.2 kilos for the top of the line 10K version. And that bike comes spec'd with burly tires, like the double down casing on the rear tire, Fox 38 forks. This is supposed to be a slightly lighter full fat, full power EMTB. It's not supposed to be a super light. There's also the Merida eOne-Forty. And looking at the pictures, I think it looks quite a bit like the previous model, perhaps except for the rear wheel. It's a 29er wheel, which is that like the first time Merida has made a full 29er, at least for a proper trail bike, it might be. And that means the rear length, the chainstays, are up to 449 millimeters, about 10 millimeters more than the previous version. Head tube angle is 66.5, that's the same as the previous version, but the wheelbase is significantly longer. It's like 30 millimeters longer, and the reach is up by 20 millimeters, and the seat tube angle is 79.5 degrees. That's crazy. That's steep. So even though the frame sort of resembles the old one, this is a very different bike. Also, the suspension travel has been altered. Now it's 143 millimeters rear, 150 mil front. That's up by 10 mil. And this bike too has this flip chip thingy that allows you to convert it. This time you can convert it to a mullet bike, further increasing the rear travel to 151 millimeters. So a longer eOne-Forty with more travel. Yeah, it's a very different bike, and I think it's interesting because looking at the eOne-Sixties, they are sort of expensive. I'm hoping we'll have a 5,000 model, like a cheaper entry model with a carbon frame, and perhaps a eOne-Sixty 575 or even 500, cheaper entry-level alloy bike. But those bikes don't exist, and I think the eOne-Forty can sort of compensate for that. This bike has got a decent amount of travel, and it appears to be a capable descender. So if you want a cheaper Merida, the eOne-Forty, I think now is a serious option. It really, I don't think many people considered that bike previously when looking at the eOne-Sixty, but I think now more people will and should. What I find a bit surprising is that none of these bikes have got the Shimano EP6, at least for the alloy eOne-Forty. I was thinking the EP6 motor, that's supposed to be a great choice for a cheaper entry-level model to keep the cost down. But it's not there for some reason, and that's sort of a pleasant surprise because the EP801, it's stronger over a wider range of pedaling frequencies, so it's a more inspiring ride. So good news, I guess. The eOne-Forty 2 has a 750 watt-hours battery, or alternatively a 630 watt-hours battery, the old Shimano one, and both of those are detachable. So detachable battery, big range, cheap bike, yeah, eOne-Forty. So yeah, the new Meridas, the e-Triology, they've been properly changed. I was quite surprised and intrigued to read this press kit, and I'm really looking forward to testing these bikes. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to ride one, but they probably aren't too far away. I think the first customer bikes will be out in just a matter of days. It will be the alloy version that hits the shop floors first. The carbon version is supposed to be a bit later in March. That's it. Appreciate any likes and subscribes. Thanks for watching.